All right, let's see if we are rolling. I think we are. I think I've hassled enough people about me going live that I should just leave it for now. But tell your friends, share the link, get them in here. We'll get some fun stuff. Oh, I should adjust my camera a little bit, I think. Oh, guess I can adjust my seating just as well. And have my camera locked up. It's novel. Let me guess, the camera's gonna overheat in a moment. All right, if you are watching, say hello. Let me know you're out there. But my camera did seem to lock up, so I will see if I can restore that little thing. Turn on and off the physical camera. This is a good start. First thing happens, camera turns off. Thank you, Video for Linux. That's very nice of you to do. It's usually so well behaved. Mostly. Nope, that camera locked up. That's unfortunate. Just have my face locked in terror. What? Resizing the camera is also a bit of a sport. Haven't had that happen before. All right. Guess we're doing this without a camera. All right, I think people are watching because YouTube tells me people are watching. So if you are, sound off in the chat so I know that you're there. Hey Norland, hey Riska. All right, I think we'll get going even though I'm faceless. That was not the intent, but that's just video on Linux, I think. Honestly, we can do a brief stab at just seeing whether, well, it's just claiming that the Elgato Stream Deck showed up. Hello, Stina. Hello, Walter. Oh, we got the real people that can actually answer questions about Electric SQL here as well. That's great. So this is, as you can see by the little supported tag in the corner, this is a sponsored stream. Not that they sponsored me specifically to stream, honestly. They agreed to pay me to help Electric SQL do some work on sort of implementation and usage of the system. So kindly, they also let me stream that work. Since it's going to be open source regardless, I think it's just to their advantage. But I enjoy being able to share what I do, and most of the time I can't because it's client work. And this is also client work, but it's a bit more open-ended kind of client work. It's going to be a good time. I'm going to do work on stream. I'm going to do work off stream on this. And I will tell you a little bit more about Electric SQL to give you a basis for understanding what I'm up to here. Electric SQL is a replication layer for SQLite and Postgres. This means it can do active-to-active replication between multiple instances of Postgres and SQLites, and all the sort of source of truth is in the Electric server. Now, the things I'm going to do right now, I will be using the hosted version of Electric. So let's get a browser and go to. So this is Electric SQL. So we will be working with Pinata Aquarius 9466. That's my favorite server. So you can get into this developer preview if you want to play around with it. Right now, it should be quite a quick queue in. But this essentially, we'll see if I show some credentials. I don't super mind. I'll reset it if I have to. But essentially, this gives me a Postgres and an Electric server, and the Electric server is what keeps the data around. And from this, I can get any number of any number of SQLite instances. So in this case, I can't do multiple Postgres instances. I get one from the hosted version. I think that's just what it is right now. But essentially, I can connect to this Postgres and I can hook it all up to a multitude of SQLites. I can show you the Postgres just so we sort of prove it. Yeah, and I've been working with a to-do. Hey Adam, with a to-do MVC sample that's provided. So we are connected here with IntelliJ Data Grip. I looked around and it seemed like one of the reasonabler UIs for multiple databases. So here we can see the data store through the Postgres connection. So I'm connected to my Electric hosted Postgres. Something I can do now is to use, this is a Node app. That's not typically what I do, but it's using Better SQLite 3 and Electric SQL Node and a bunch of config. Most of the config is handled by the Electric CLI tool. But what this allows me to do is start up the WebSocket connection and a SQLite 3 database, replicate whatever's on the Electric server to my local SQLite database, and have a new SQLite database. And then when I write to that SQLite database, I will get updates to the cloud and to my Postgres. So I built this, it's called sidecar right now, because I only built this example to have a way of triggering that replication for SQLite. And then I want to do everything else in sort of Elixir and other tools, because I'm not a big fan of Node, but the first implemented version of Electric SQL is in Node. So let's start a database. So Node, well, I can also do index.js because I think that's more clear. So I say I want to start a database at databases/mine.db. I started. I've told it to print out all the changes very crudely. And I can now go to using the SQLite 3 tool to let me know if there's anything about audio or visuals that is hopeless to see. That can be hard to tell from my end, but just let me know if there's anything. And I should be able to do select asterisk from to do. Yeah, see, there's our table. We can widen this a little bit so we see most of it, because this output is not super interesting, right? The output here is not super interesting right now. So if we then grab this and just insert into to do, see its ID, list ID, text completed, values. I'll just change that to 7 so I have a new UID. I want to use the fake client ID. Fancy to do. So I'll do this insert. You can see that it makes noise in the sidecar here. And if I refresh, there it goes. This is a Postgres. This is SQLite. I could run any number or some number of these sidecars and get multiple SQLite databases replicated. As long as I have the sidecar running, replication will work. If I kill the sidecar and start writing data, that data will never replicate because then it is not running the SQLite triggers. This could of course be implemented in anything. It doesn't have to be implemented in Node. It just is right now. Because one of the use cases for this was potentially sort of React Native or mobile first. But what I find interesting is that if it's this easy to sort of slurp down and set up a local SQLite database, I'm thinking if we put an app with this sidecar on, for example, fly.io and say, oh, we want it geographically distributed. Hey, Philip. Then we can start a database per node, geographically distributed, minimal latency, sort of, and still have everything consistently replicated to a shared source of truth. They just don't have to coordinate at the time of writing. This could be a very neat demo. It's like incredibly low latency, fully dynamic, full SQL app servers. And this is the demo I'm planning to try to put together with the Electric folk. And we have a bit of time to do so. So that's what I'm planning to do. Now, I have an app as well that I've started on that we can use for this purpose. Let me see. It will need to be adapted a bit, but I can show you what's there already, I guess. All right, for this one, I'm gonna need to start the local dev environment for Electric. So Electric is all open source as well, so you can run it locally. And that's what I'm gonna do right now. So I should just get away with make start dev and because I think I've prepped most of this. Oh, it's all running already. Well, make shell. There we go. So now we have that local version up and running. And I'm not going to set up a SQLite against that. I just want to show sort of what this Elixir thing does. Oh, hold on. I just need to kill another dev server. I'm going to show you my work. How many Elixir dev servers are you running at any given point? All right, there it is. So let's see. Go localhost 4000. It's the same. It's the same schema. It's the same kind of demo. I can actually do a demo with data grep on this local Postgres as well. So all of these demos, so most of them at least, will also show up in a video sometime soon. That's going to be a little bit less rambly. for obvious reasons, but I am doing a video with a bunch of this work. So yeah, so let's remove this one. I don't like this one. So I did a delete and then I commit that. I would have expected. No, oh, sorry, I think I'm in the wrong. That's the tricky part. Juggling too many databases. That one. That's the one I want to remove. Oh, and it's gone. So what we have on this end, currently this is focused on Postgres. And it's just a normal Phoenix app, essentially. I've removed migrations because those are handled by Electric SQL. And I have added a Canifile gen server here that connects to this local Electric instance. So Canifile is a Postgres library. It's a very cool Postgres library. This one, Canifile/Canifile, which means that if you run alter system set while level logical and you create a publication, you can get messages whenever things are changed in your database, which means that if I edit this there, submit it, bam, instantly noted there. So what this one does is it creates essentially it starts a connection to Postgres and listens to the replication stream. I've told it to be temporary because we don't want to hack and we don't want to risk slowing down Postgres with our app. And then in my to-do live, I've tried to keep this as simple as humanly possible, but I've started a Canifile subscription, which means I will be sent messages about what's going on. And in this case, I'm listening for Canifile changes transaction. And whenever a transaction hits me, I just refresh the list of to-dos. Live view does its patching and updates the view. So that's neat. I think I'll adapt this. It will probably just be a branch off of this to use SQLite and the sidecar so that I can deploy this, and it will not be using Canifile. Canifile is a Postgres thing, but so the sidecar we were looking at earlier is built to be able to act as a port. So if I send it the right stuff, it will behave as an Erlang port, which makes it pretty convenient. It's not always fantastic, but pretty convenient to integrate with from Elixir. So I did put an Elixir sample project in here. Hold on, we'll take a look. Yeah, so this is a gen server. Did I build it in the test? No. So this is a gen server that will start a database, and so it takes a PID, or it takes a path, and it takes a PID, and it will listen for these changes. It will inspect them. So this is essentially a gen server for the sidecar that will start the sidecar and listen for it, or listen for changes on it. So let's see if that one still works. I think so. Questions are very welcome. I am just going to go through and talk about this stuff and assume that people understand what I'm saying, which is not always true. And it's perfectly welcome to have questions or concerns or disagree with me about what a cool demo would be. But I think a cool demo would be putting this on fly. Why fly? Well, they offer these geographically distributed nodes. Oh, hey, Carrot Boy. This might be a wild one if you're just getting into Elixir, but you are very welcome to ride along. And it might even make some sense, depending on how well I do. Okay, so path. Let's see, I hope that's relative to... Yeah, that's relative to the previous directory. So if I do databases, new one, .db. I don't need to link a PID in this case, I don't think. Is it gonna be okay if I don't send a PID? I might as well. PID self. There we go. Now you can see it started, and it's sent. If you see the bunch of changes, I can flush. I can see those changes have arrived as messages to the PID that I provided. But I can of course also then go and see, oh, SQLite 3. Oh, databases. New one.db from do, yada yada. And well, the interesting part isn't if we write to the SQLite there, but rather if we write to this hosted one. I can remove this. This is not a demo currently. Amicable. Better sentence. So if we do that, hit commit, and you can see the change showed up. It will tell us it was the table name to do. It will not tell us which rows. That's something I've discussed with the Electric folk, and it might be just the specific message that I'm tracking. There's some other things we might also want to have messages about. Let's see, we are listening to subscribe to data changes. Now, there might be a case that we should also keep track of connection status. So let's actually go and look at how we can do that. In the TypeScript client, I love reading TypeScript. I don't love reading TypeScript. Actually, I think I have a local copy of that. Yeah, I do. Makes grepping easier. Blah, 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 blah. Notifiers. Let's try that one. Ooh, an interface, aren't we fancy? Subscribe to data changes. Yeah, so that's subscribe to potential data changes. That's very fancy. Subscribe to connectivity state changes. I think I want one of those as well. We can do this. I bet there's also something I could do to disconnect it. Yeah, Philip, if it was available in some other language, I would absolutely, very likely be using that instead. But there's a fair bit of work, I believe, to do some of the reconciliation and like listening over the WebSocket for replication events and applying those replication events and keeping that consistency. So I thought I closed my Slack. I did not. Well, you probably got a message about Per Stritzinger discussing sensors in the Erlang ecosystem foundation Slack. That's fine. Let's do that. All right. So we can subscribe to connectivity changes. We can stringify the change. We can write the payload connectivity change. Oh, we can just do connection. Well, I guess. Some data. Those are just what it logs, though. We might want to wrap this in something else. We'll see. Maybe it's very easy to. Well, we can do it like this. Then data change. We can just do this. Okay, so we can pass those out. I would be curious to see if they're what we could potentially do to connect, disconnect. Electric namespace, electrify. See here. So this is electrify. It proxies that with an electric. Any electric database. Well, chucks. I kind of assume that there's a way to disconnect. Set connectivity state. React hooks. So this has a bunch of hooks for working with React. Now, I'd be very curious to just have a way of switching off the connection, because that lets us try the sort of local firsty nature of it, but it's not critical for what I want to do. I'm pretty sure there's a way to do it. I just gotta figure it out. Unsubscribe from data changes and stop polling. I wonder if that's something I can do then on like db.electric.stop or something. Probably. Not going to spend a ton of time on that right now. What I mostly want is for it to stream me changes, which it's doing. So let's see if I restart this now. I would expect to see event connection status, connectivity status connected. And here you can see it didn't do a big replay because there wasn't any new data. I believe that's the case at least. So if I send this, I get the event data changed. All right, I like that change. Let's keep it. Hold on, there's something there, I wasn't sure what it was. Oh, formatting. So to be able to take over the world with this, I would need to be able to use this from my admin project. And this is not a proper Elixir library right now, because like Elixir sample could be an Elixir library, but it's been wrapped by Sidecar, which is a Node project. So I started sort of an unholy alliance between these two. I started turning it into an Elixir library. Let's see if this has any hope of rebasing on master. Alrighty then. So if we check here, because I know I made some changes. One of the things is that Electric needs some config to be able to know what are your migrations that you've chosen. So I have some migrations laying around. They were in migrations. I don't know where they are now. Oh, I'm in the wrong folder. There. Those are migration files. It's just a bunch of JSON that describes our migration history. For example, here, migration.sql. I think we can skip these for now. Focus on this code. I'm just gonna take a stab at seeing if my camera has rebooted, because I would prefer to be able to look you in the eye when I talk SQL at you. No, it's still frozen in time. Damn it. That's so dumb. I wonder what happens if I replug it. Hey there, Prince. I just replugged my camera. We'll see how that goes. No, still frozen, and it's going to be a pain to replug my Elgato thingy. So, not going to do that. It's good to be back streaming and doing videos. I'm actually recording the video I'm doing with Electric tomorrow. So we'll take a week or two before it's ready for release, and Electric needs to get a chance to look at it before you all do. But that's going to be a bit more of a deep dive, or maybe not a deeper dive, but at least it's going to be a slightly more structured dive into this whole tool. Now, this is fun. So one thing, when I bring up the connection, the library sends this message. This message does not respect the way Erlang ports want to work. If you want to do ports reliably with Node.js, my experience is that you will run into tons of problems with buffer flushing unless you use this. So you tell Erlang to expect a protocol. That means that every message sent across standard in and standard out has a prefix of 4 bytes saying how large the message is. And then on the other end, you do some, you can probably do this in a nicer way. I did crimes last time I implemented this, and then I just copy pasted it for this. But you make sure that you prefix the size all the time. So there's no guessing, there's no flushing, there's no waiting for a new line, there's no problems with new lines. You just write a number of bytes every time. And that's how they communicate. So whether I'm sending a message from Elixir, well, if I'm sending a message from Elixir, Erlang will take care of building a nice packet. On the port side, I need to implement that behavior myself. So, because of this evil message that is always emitted on starting up, I needed to make sure we first sent the proper prefix saying this is the size of the evil message about connectivity. Here you go. And then it will work, because I didn't want to rip apart the TypeScript client to make it not do that. Then there's this, because the connection details and all the migration information is important, that gets packaged up into a config. This is done with this thing, Electric build. I don't think that's going to change anything right now, but it takes the migrations, it builds config. There's a config update command that might be relevant as well if you're switching environments. There's a bunch of nice tooling, some of it maturer than others. But essentially, if we're moving over to Elixir, we're going to need to know where our config is. Elixir needs to be able to tell the sidecar, this is the config you need to run with. And the config is a bunch of data structure. It's just data structures with connection information and migrations. So I want to provide a database name and then this connection information. And I think that's all the port should be doing. And if I've done my homework correctly here, this should be runnable, and it should also start looking like an Elixir library that I could import elsewhere. But let's check that it still works. So if I do this, oh, I don't think I've updated this side of the calculation. No, I have not. So I want a database path, I want a config path. I think I'll walk away from this whole relative path thing. This is now, oh, how do you do this again? Because now I need to reference files that are in here. Actually, to make this properly work, I should be moving a bunch of this node stuff into priv, I think, because that's easier to keep around when I package this up as a library. That could get annoying. As they say. I'm gonna need these, all the node modules stuff as well. I don't think there's sort of a best practice on how to package node tooling with Elixir. Actually, there might be. So the Tailwind package on Hex, I think that just downloads it, but it doesn't hurt to check. I think it just does a download, right? Install base URL. Yada yada yada. Prepare app CSS. File accessed. Write a plugin. Oh, fetch body there. All right. That doesn't install any node tooling. So I need to figure out at some point what I'm going to do with this with regards to getting the node tooling in place. But first we can at least get it working within the library, and then we need to package it up so I can consume it from elsewhere. So I want other people to be able to play with this as well. So oh, thanks, Philip. Yeah, it definitely did not run npm install. I saw that much. What was I doing? This I don't need anymore. I want to keep, well, I don't need to keep that. So we had a script path, we had the DB, and we don't need to send the word port anymore because that was just a trigger for switching to the packet mode, but I'm not gonna support choosing that anymore. So ignoring that. Oh, change directory path. Okay, Elixir get current app path. Elixir library application path. Files that are needed by a library package at runtime should be stored in the priv folder. Yeah, code priv there. There's a few ways of getting this directory, but let's do that one. Okay, so let's try this. I should actually rename this project. It shouldn't be called Elixir sample. It should be called Electric Sidecar. Rather like that name. So let's do. Well, we can remove this test. It is not used. tests. Who needs them? We can ignore the build directory from the old part of the project. We do need to update this. Yeah, that's also in the build. So let's check priv. Let's call it node. And then we just move this stuff in here. Guess we're moving that as well. Moving that as well. Then I'm gonna need to check my git ignore or this could get messy. Yeah, so this. Yeah, so just node modules. If I end up setting node modules in there, I might as well. So that way, this should be fairly portable. Script path. Oh well, I don't need that to be true. I don't know that I have to run it with cd path there, but I might as well. Script may. Oh no, let's do script path. That's fine. This looks pretty promising, so let's recompile. And then the only new thing should be config path. And then we should be able to do dot slash dot electric slash add config slash index.js. Explosions, startling something. That's because I renamed the app. Her bad name. It's such a bad name. What was a bad name? Path join. Chardated string bad name. Line 14. Oh. Path. Let's see what that gets us. Gets us an error bad name. Right. This was started under this previous name. That would explain it. Import config from config path. Syntax error, unexpected identifier. Oh. Don't like me importing files relatively. Is that not how we do it? Is that not okay? Damn it. Dynamic import ES module. Dynamic import. Yada yada yada. The import expression. Huh. I guess we could do that then. See if that works. Let config equal import. What was it? I get cranky when I need to poke these await things. Await import module path. Okay. Wasn't too bad if it worked. Unexpected token export. To load an ES module, set type module into package JSON or use the MJS extension. Am I not allowed to load that in that way? Unexpected token export. So it's not an ES module. Can I still use require? Am I still use? Okay. Maybe I can just do that then. I have no idea what I'm doing. This is Node. Dynamic, hello Electric SQL, nice to see you joining us. Dynamic import did not seem to work. Because this, I did that and it didn't. Rename it to CGA. So then it's like, oh, you're using require. Then it's a common JS, right? Require is not fine. Because what I was doing was that, which then went, oh no, I don't like this thing I'm loading. Because it is not a proper module. And I'm like, I don't care if it's a proper module. I just want the things in it. Okay. Anyone have clues? Anyone know their Node.js? Yes, Prince. JavaScript is the hard part. Oh, let's see. Dynamic, oh, let's see. Conditional import in. What is this called? What's this type of module called? It's an ES module. Import then. We do have dynamic import proposal now with ECMA. That's stage 2, blah, blah, blah. This is from 2017, so it might be newer. You can find. The import operator uses promises. All right. right, about time to wrap this up for today. Just want to see if we can get this part going. Drop the .js from the imported path. That's ambitious. Either index or without that. Module not found. It's like super cranky. It doesn't like it. So this was the reason I used the fully qualified file path, because it's like error unsupported dir import. Actually, could it be that I shouldn't do it like a full-on path? Module not found. Module not found. Yeah, because then it's not looking in the right place. Okay, ES module import from absolute path. It's not quite what I'm asking. So like this is fine. Oh yeah, you're saying my bundler. I don't do a bundler for this one, I don't think. So maybe the symlink is not working is what you're saying, and that might be the case. We're getting professional help here. So if I do Pinate Aquarius, yada yada yada, this might work better. But it is resolving the thing because it is complaining about things inside of that file. So I'm not incredibly hopeful about this, but why not? Unexpected token export. If you are using Node.js and want to get the path not relative, then use the approot path module require. Well, I have the option of moving my config into my node package, because then I could use something more relative. Relative import might work better. I get the idea that that's the case. But this is probably what I'm going to be digging into next. So I need to wrap up for this evening. Next time I hope the camera works through the whole adventure, not just the first 2 seconds of it. And I intend to do 2 more hours on Electric SQL Friday. I might have fixed this in between, I hope so. Holy hell, I hope so. But for today, what we got to see was slurping down SQLite databases from the cloud. No, from an Electric SQL database, some syncing between a Postgres and a SQLite, and we learned a little bit about Erlang ports. I hope we're also learning how much I like dealing with Node.js tooling. But that's another matter. That's not the optimistic part. All right. So big thanks for Electric to Electric for letting me do this work. I really enjoy the parts that don't involve Node.js too much. And see you all Friday, I hope. Come join me then. Should be fun. All right. Have a good evening, everyone. Or morning if you're that kind of